Well, FJM's paying the freight.
No, it's good. He's rolling.
Okay, so here's kind of a fun way of buying property. So I have fun with it. It's probably pretty scary for most, but let's say you find a property that someone only owns 10% of it. Okay, they don't own 90% of it. Would you buy the property? Would you buy that 10% interest? Raise your hand if you'd buy it. Okay, I know why you would. Okay, so there's about 4 or 5. How many would go, if I can't own all the property, I'm not owning it. I don't want to get in bed with somebody I don't know.
That's probably me.
All right, so there's a lot of people. All right. So there's actually a market out there of people that parents have passed away, sister was living in the house taking care of the mom, the sister's been spending the money out of the checking account for mom, the sister's living in the house with mom, sister's not paying even the property taxes, and the brother who's supposed to inherit half the property doesn't get a thing. Is it fair?
No.
You think, but does the brother go along with it? Goes along with it for years and years and years. So he's been cheated out of his inheritance. If he owns 50% of it, my thought would be the sister should at least pay him a few $100s a month for rent. But that doesn't happen because the sister doesn't have anything. So the sister just stays in the house. So you go to the brother and say, I'd like to buy your half of the property. He says, how much? I usually offer him 20 cents on the dollar for his half. Okay? He says, okay. So here's a couple real life scenarios. Oakley, California. I get a phone call. Hey, I want to sell my property. We have 8 brothers and sisters. I thought, oh my God. All right. We're all, so she says, come on over to the house. So I come over to the house and 7 brothers and sisters and 6 spouses, a couple of dogs, and the house was like 700 square feet. I mean, they had tables and chairs and stacks. And they go, well, we all own the house. Oh no, I'm going to be here for a while. So I filled out the contract. I agreed to buy the house for $110,000. It had a market value of about $200,000, but it needed work. It'd been red tagged, and they have city fees and liens and all kinds of stuff on this. And so they even have the vote. Does everybody agree that $110,000? They all raised their hand. Yes. Not one person didn't raise their hand. I went around, I got everybody's signature on this contract, and this contract was a mess. There was somebody's signature on it. And I use a realtor contract, so there's only 2 spaces to initial. I've got 14 initials or 18, and it was dumb. I had this thing all tattooed up. So I turn the thing in, and title looks at it and says, well, Kevin, you have 2 of them that spouses have passed away. No. Oh yeah, we got to do probates on them. Freaking kidding me. So this was January 3rd of 3 years ago. So I sent it to the probate. One probate gets done in 6 months, one probate gets done in 11 months. So we're rolling into December now. The good news is that house went from 200 to about 260. So, and they've paid for their probates, they've done everything. We go to sign, and I've got 8 parties that signed. The 9th guy goes, well, if you used your middle finger, that's what he said to me about 15 times. He's not selling. And so all the brothers and sisters are going, oh. I said, well, let's gather. I said, I've got an idea. Let's have a meeting. So I get there again. Whole room's full. I said, I got good news and I got bad news. I said, I'll still buy the house. Yeah. Everybody's happy. I said, the bad news is the price is going to be a little bit less because I'm now sharing it with your brother, so we have to take his percentage off. I said, then I'm going to have to sue your brother, and I got to take that money off. Well, how much can you pay us? $68,000. They all raised their hands and took it. I said, I'll get you your money within 7 days. So I $68,000 closed on 7/8 of the house. So now I got 1/8 left. So I go to the brother. I said, hey, hey, partner, I got a good deal for you. Your brothers and sisters all took like $7,000 to $8,000. I'll give you $35,000 for your 1/8 interest. He gave me the middle finger. I said, man, that's bad news. I said, let me explain this again to you. You're getting $35,000. Everybody else got $8,000. You've lived here since 1992 for no rent, no fees, no nothing. "You can't buy the house unless I sign. You're tricking me." I said, "I promise you, I am not tricking you." Flips me off a few more times. Girlfriend comes out, tattoos all over. "I'm gonna kick your ass because I spent a lot of time in jail." Got in my car and I left. What else are you gonna do, right? So I call my attorney up and I says, "I got a problem here." He says, "Oh, that's no problem. We'll just go ahead and sue him." I said, "Okay, let's do it." So he fills out all the paperwork. Another $5,000 goes to him, and he says he'll handle this whole thing for $5,000. I said, "Okay, great." So he gets the letter. He says, "Well, how much do you want to offer him?" I says, "Well, I've offered him 35. The next offer is 20. So I offer him 20,000 and a formal written letter. Now I've closed. The whole deal's done." He sends a letter for 20,000. He ignores it. So he places a lawsuit on him. He ignores the lawsuit. So lawsuit's 21 days, you got to answer, right? He didn't answer. It goes to court. The court says, "Oh, serve him better." What do you mean serve him better? He was served. Serve him better because we're not going to allow this. So they served him better. So it comes back, goes back to the court. He had another 21 days. He didn't answer. It goes back to the judge, and the judge says, "Well, this just doesn't make any sense. I want a picture of it with it in his hand and him flipping you off or whatever else he's doing." And he gets another 21 days. So sure enough, they went out there. He flipped them off. He told them all off. The guy wrote it all down, gave it to the judge. The judge said, "So it's been another 3 weeks, and he did flip you off, and he does have the paper in his hands. I rule in favor of you guys." I don't remember, defenders, whatever we were.
What were you suing him for?
For his interest in the house. I wanted to sell.
But I mean,
I want to sell.
But he hasn't broken the law.
yeah,
I want to sell the property. He has to, everybody has to cooperate. If I want to sell and I only own 1%, everybody has to sell. If I own 99% and 1% doesn't want to sell, everybody has to sell.
Oh, I never knew that.
Oh yeah, it's a great thing. It's a great thing. So we get down, so then after all these court things, they still said, "Oh, you're cheating." The guy calls me up and says, "I'm calling Channel 2 News and telling them that you're stealing my house." Great. Go. I said, "You know what? Just let me know so I can have my I Buy a House shirt on when the news comes." I'm sure there's more morons like you out there. And so anyway, he flips me off again. He tells me off over the phone. So
is this a law or a rule that anyone with even less percent in the house can dominate?
it doesn't matter. I bought into a note in Fresno on a 200-unit apartment building, and the note was for 6%, and I gave the guy like $10,000 for a 6% percentage of this note, and then I looked at it, and I got the whole 94% to do what I want to do. I was the tail, and I waved the dog. So it's, if you own a little bit, you have a lot. Okay, so in this case now, after everything was done, it was ruled in my favor. Then he went in and he goes, "Oh, I want to negotiate." Well, there's nothing to negotiate. He says, "You paid $68,000. I'll give you $80,000 for it." I don't have to do anything. So anyway, just because she's so confrontational, I said, just send it to a person. I think they call it a receivership, or it's a person that's now taking control of the whole situation. And he didn't even get a 60-day notice that he has to move out. They gave him a December 24th that he hasn't moved out, and if he doesn't, the sheriff comes and they're going to throw him out. So there was no 60-day notice, and you got to have all the special rules to come out and play. There's none of that. So they're in the process of I haven't even looked into it. I think he's in the process of kicking it out. Then the person that was appointed will go in and start cleaning it up. And they said, will you pay? I said, sure, I'll pay for all the cleanup. I'll pay for the paint, the carpet, the remodel, whatever it is. Well, you know he's getting his 12%. I said, that's fine. Let's get the highest price we can. What he doesn't know is he has to pay for my attorney fees. He has to pay for all the court costs because he lost. So his 12% is a shrinking number. So if I sell it for $350, he's going to net zero. There's no chance he makes any money on this. Not a chance. He's given all his chances away. So that was one that we did. Then we did another one in Richmond. Now this is a weird deal because I was taking the loan over subject to, and I thought I was buying 100% of the property. I find out, we'll get to title, title says, hey Kevin, we got a problem. The lady you're buying the house from only owns 35% of the house. I said, who owns the other 65%? Well, it's this guy. So I call her up and I, who is that? Oh, that was my boyfriend. I said, what happened to him? Oh, he died. Terrific. Why does he have 65%? Well, we were playing she's 80 something. We're playing bankruptcy games. He filed bankruptcy and he deeded me his property, and I filed bankruptcy and I deeded him my property, and so we were playing bankruptcy games. So he died owning 65% of her property. So that was an interesting one. So then I find out where the 65% live. They live in Louisiana, and it was a dirt poor area of Louisiana. But let me tell you, when dirt poor Louisiana finds out they just inherited a piece of property in Richmond, California, they thought they hit the lottery. They went on, they said, that property is worth $700,000. We want $300,000. And I'm going, so I went out and I got 2 appraisals. And my 2 appraisals came in. One came in at 150 and 155. And I said, man, I told you I could need a 130. They said, Kevin, it was 155. And that's cheap, man. I said, all right, we'll take the 155. So we sent the two appraisals, and I sent it to my attorney, and the attorney sent them an offer. They basically said, no way, not a chance. We want $700,000 for the property. I said, well, what do we do best? Sue them. So they file a lawsuit against this whole family for their 65% interest. On the 21st day, we get I think they call him a legal assistant. The legal assistant answers his thing and says, what's your offer to the family? Because they have no money to even pay me. And we said, well, we're going to give you $35,000. That'll be your percentage of the equity from the loans that are being taken over subject to from what the appraisal came in. They said they'll take it. So it took them about 6 more months, at least 6 more months, to finally get all the papers signed. And so I gave them their $35,000 and we closed. So the whole thing, I looked on it, I think it took 28 months from day one to our closing. I was originally paying $115, and because I had to pay them more, I ended up paying $135 or $140 for the property, but when we closed, it was worth $350. I just went through the refinance and it appraised for $450. So we're just doing a refinance on it right now. But I used one of those State Street lenders and took that loan over subject to, and they've made their 8 3/4, probably 13% with all their late fees, no matter how early we mail it. So we've done more of those, but that's kind of if you run into that situation and you say, hey, I need to wholesale this, you call me on those, because I like those. I'll dig right in. We can handle those. So. Positive cash flow. Everybody wants to know, how do you get positive cash flow in the Bay Area? And it's ridiculous. We're buying properties 30 to 40% below market value. So if you're buying them 30, 40% below market value, you're taking a loan over subject to. What's the interest rate usually on a loan that you're taking over subject to? And that loan was done somewhere between 2009 and 2012. What do you think the rate is?
4.5.
Yeah, it's right around 3.5 to 4.5%. So you're taking over a loan 3.5 to 4.5%. You're putting down minimal amounts of money, and the people are leaving, and you've taken the house over subject to. You can't cash flow that, even if you've got to put $10,000 or $15,000 in some paint and carpet. You're kidding me? That thing cash flows any city, anywhere. So that's how you get positive cash flow. And so when you get that kind of positive cash flow, you can rent it for a year or 2 years or 3 years. And in 2 or 3 years, you can then even go refinance it if you have to. If the lender starts giving you any problems, you can refinance. You got a ton of equity in the house, and that's pretty easy to do. So this was this Cambridge Drive we bought this house in Cambridge Drive. I probably overpaid for it because it was a Cambridge Drive in Fairfield, and I wanted to pay like $120 for it, and she owed $167, so there wasn't a lot of room there. The loan was at 4%. She wanted $8 grand, and she was $5 grand behind in payment. So I gave him like 13 grand. I took over this loan for like 167. I looked at the comps and